All right. So we are now live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feelings with the Geekiary. This is our Dragon Con 2016 edition. I am Tara, and I'm here with Bekah, my fellow Geekiary writer, as well as some friends and fellow Dragon Con attendees, Andrew, Judson, and Elena. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Thank you.
This is just a friendly reminder that this is also a podcast, so please subscribe to us on iTunes so you don't miss any of our feelings. And if you're listening to this podcast, please remember that this is recorded live, so we're not exactly sure what's going to happen. And please forgive us for any accidental swears. And you can join the conversation with hashtag #GeekiaryFeelings. Come on, how will we know you're wrong if you don't tell us?
All right, we would like to remind all of you that the views expressed on this webcast are those of the hosts and guests as individuals and do not necessarily represent the Geekiary or the webcast itself as a whole. Our monthly episode of Feelings will air on Thursday, September 29th at 8 p.m. Eastern, so don't forget to tune in. And now, since I'm always on this webcast, pretty much, I'm going to let everybody else introduce themselves. Bekah, why don't you go first?
I'm Bekah. I am a writer for the Geekiary, and I also do some editing and stuff. And I mostly write about young adult fiction, The Hunger Games 100. This is my second Dragon Con.
All right, Andrew?
Hey, I'm Andrew from Orlando. This is actually in con this year. I checked tickets for year and noticed it went back to 2012, so I'm doing good at this point. I know Bekah and Tara through Dragon Con and Ice and Fire Con, and I'm a big fan of Song and Ice and Fire, Star Wars, Walking Dead, Stranger Things, love that one, and general geek culture.
All righty. And Judson?
Hi, my name's Judson. I'm the owner of what's probably the most free webcam ever, so I apologize for that. Met Tara met Tara at Dragon Con a couple years ago and kind of snowballed from there. Ice and Fire Con, Conuga, all the fun con shenanigans.
Yeah, gosh, I met you at my first Dragon Con, come to think of it. It was it was my second Dragon Con. It was like 2013, so it's been a while. So, and Elena, it was your first Dragon Con this year, right?
It was. It was a brand new experience for me. One of my friends convinced me to go and join like a month ahead of time, so everything was completely last minute. I had a ton of fun, but as she said, my name's Elena. I'm from Ohio, OH. I don't really do anything for the Geekiary, but I do a lot of online assorted nonsense. Sorry, I just got distracted by Tara's dogs.
I'm distracted by my dogs. Hush. Hush. Okay, I'm going to mute myself.
Simmer down now.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to mute myself.
So Tara is wrangling dogs, doges.
I have no idea what she's barking at.
You have a ghost, apparently.
Yeah.
It's you.
It was like out of the blue. Like, okay, sorry guys. So now that my dog
Splendid was barking at a floor fan today. It's like this big, and she was like,
yeah. Now that my dogs have completely disrupted the beginning of this webcast, but at least you got to see their beautifulness. So with Dragon Con, when we did this last year, I like to kind of start with the cons and get them out of the Dragon Con cons, and get them out of the way, because obviously we like to finish with positive things. So yeah, honestly, like Dragon Con, this is my 5th year, and my gripes about it this year are pretty much the same as they are every year. the biggest one forever is going to be disability services being in the Sheridan. I know it's actually very convenient for most people, so I really have no right to complain about it, to be honest. But as press, I can't get my badge at the Sheridan. I have to get it at the Hyatt. So I wouldn't have to go to the Sheridan at all, except for the fact that Disability Services is there. And this year, with just my cosplay and panel schedule, I didn't have time to make it, and I ended the convention in a lot of pain to the point where I came home and couldn't like walk properly for like 3 or 4 days. So that was fun. But I don't know if there's really any way for them to change it. My other major gripe is just the simple. I already wrote an article about it. If you go to the Geekiary to my author page, it's basically my 5 years at Dragon Con and how much I love it, except for the fact that the fan tracks are basically an old boys club, and it's like impossible to get involved unless you know the right people, which I know the right people on one track, and it's the rest of them have been impossible to like break into, so that's a little bit maddening. You can also see the article via the Dragon Con subreddit, where I put it for fun, and now it has 115 comments, and I can't stop the emails.
Oh gosh.
Well, I will say I really agree, Sarah. Honestly, like that was one thing that I think I told you at the con, you know, myself, and as somebody who's gone for 5 years, and some of those and seeing them not change to change with the times, get new panelists when they needed to update their panelists, or get somebody who's knowledgeable. So I that one, and you know, some tracks are very progressive and good, but tracks that are kind of stuck in the 90s, I think, and
Well, I mean,
haven't really changed.
the Whedonverse track is one where back in the day they were like the Buffy track, and then like Buffy and Firefly. But then, like, when Joss Whedon directed the Avengers and stuff, they added a lot of Avengers stuff. Well, they switched track directors. The former track director retired, as they are wont to do once every 20-something years or so, apparently. And the person who took it over made it, like, just turned around all the good like progress that the former track director made, and like there's no Avengers Ball, instead there's a hootenanny. Like, I have no problem with Firefly, and I know it draws crowds, but why would you get rid of the very popular Avengers Ball and exchange it for a Firefly themed party when Firefly hasn't been on the air since the early 2000s, and the movie was in like 2005. I mean, there's still a heck of a lot of brown coats to justify some sort of party. Oh, absolutely.
Some night, but yeah, not on the. You really should be having it. You know, the newer properties that are going to draw everybody out. Really.
To be honest, I'm very like I'm in the process of coming up with a proposal for a Marvel Cinematic Universe track for Dragon Con. I doubt they'll accept it, but it would take all, you know, they've got a comics track, but they don't have a Marvel track or a DC track, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe is an entirely different thing, and it covers all of the Netflix shows as well. So not only do we have the 2 to 3 movies that are coming out every single year, including the ones that have already like been released, we also have Jessica Jones, Daredevil, soon to be Luke Cage, Iron Fist, The Defenders, you know, so we'll see about that. But at other Dragon Con cons,
yeah.
Let's see. I know that like I'm still pretty new, so I was in better shape this year than I was last year, because I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was kind of spoiled with like very small cons. And Dragon Con was like my first really big one. But I fell like a couple days before Dragon Con and messed up my knee, and I didn't really care to go to Sheridan. I was like, I'm not going to deal with that. but I was okay after the end. And then I have celiac, so it's like really, really, really hard to find allergy-friendly meals. So I ended up just packing like a bag full of protein shakes, and I was just kind of like, well, this is my meal for the con. I don't know. That's honestly all I could think of because I'm so tired. It's been like 2 weeks and I'm still just like, ugh.
I think I finally caught up with sleep. A few nights ago, I went to bed at midnight and slept until noon the next day, and that was
Nice.
I'm still watching clothes from that. I mean, granted, and came back, but I still have dirty clothes from the con.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Andrew here came home from Dragon Con and like 4 days later went to Poland. So
Two went to Poland.
okay,
That's
I don't feel bad for you for being tired right now.
Yeah.
So Judson and Elena, what do you guys do you have any cons from Dragon Con?
Well, I mean, as I said earlier, this was my first Dragon Con, so I don't really have anything to compare it to at all. I mean, other than the small cons I've been to, and this is definitely just a totally different league. Like,
Oh yeah, I know.
I can't even compare the two, to be honest. But what you were saying earlier about it being basically like an old boys club for panels and such, it's very much the same way here in Ohio. I do a lot of improv with my group, Overlord Media Group, and if somebody doesn't like you, you're not going to get any cons in Ohio. You're not going to have any panels. If you do, you might have one for, and it'll be like an hour. Or they'll put you, like it happened at Colossal Con. We had a panel at 10 a.m. on Saturday for 2 hours. And
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
I did it.
So-
Yeah, I was on a 10 a.m. panel at Dragon Con, and this was like one I actually applied for, but it was supposed to be later in the day, and then they moved it earlier. And I was like, this was last year. I absolutely was still drunk when I went to that panel.
We had to make a rule that nobody could drink on Friday so that we could be sober in time for Saturday. Like, as soon as we got out of the panel, we're just like, who's got booze? Come on, let's go. It was bad. But,
I know.
ugh.
And did you? Did all of us use the Dragon Con app? Did anybody not try to use it?
I tried it.
I used
My
it
phone
for
hated
like
it.
5 seconds, and then the UI just.
Yep. It's
The first.
for anybody who's
It's not
used
horrible,
Yeah.
but it's not.
I just couldn't figure it out. Like,
And
Yeah.
have you guys used it in past years? Because I feel like whatever they
Yes.
did this year for upgrades or updates, like, made it worse.
Yeah. Last
Yes,
year was decent.
yeah, it was a step backwards.
It crashed my phone twice this con, and I have a brand new phone.
Oh, that's
mind you,
right.
and
That's
it
right. Weren't
crashed
you?
it twice.
Didn't you have to like restart it and stuff? Was that you? Yeah.
Yes,
Well, I mean,
that was me.
I mean, it like literally, I used it when I was at home to write down all the like I wrote down in my trusty C3PO planner. Look at him. He's so freaked out about all the things I have to do. I literally hand wrote all the panels I had to do and all the stuff I wanted to do in there and carried that with me because I was more worried about cell phone service, but I had my cell phone service was fine this year, but that app was just so clunky, and every time you opened it, it updated. And like it was also
Right.
I don't notice because I'm on like a company plan with my phone, but like I had friends who had their own plans who were saying when they first downloaded it and then they got their next phone bill, it was using up like hundreds of gigs of data or something.
Oh.
like every time it
What?
updated. Yeah. Well, because it was running, like they had it running in the background of their phones
Oh.
and it was like updating itself. But that's like a huge issue for a
Yeah.
lot of people. You know what I mean? Like unlimited data is a thing of the
Yeah.
past. If you weren't grandfathered into it, it practically doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
I know pretty much anytime I tried to open the app, it would take like 10 minutes for it to finally like get into the actual, even just for the year. Because it originally would pop up like, what year are you trying to download? It's like, well, I already downloaded for 2016, so why do you keep popping up from 2014?
That's dumb.
I gave up on it. I'm pretty sure on Friday. Like I tried to use it on Thursday and just gave up.
Yeah, I didn't use it much last year, but I used it a lot in 2013 and 2014, and I swear it just gets worse every year, and I don't understand how.
I'm
like,
using it less as I go to panels less. But
yeah, that's yeah. I had so many panels I wanted to go to this year, but like
Same.
they were so all over the place because they moved so many of the tracks and stuff that it was just impossible to do more than one or two things in a day, you know. Did anybody go to panels at the America's Mart? Because that's another thing I know we had kind of we have in our we have in our doc, you know, our document. So none of us went to panels at the America's Mart.
I didn't end up going to a panel there, but I ended up walking like towards the same general direction as somebody else in my hotel. So we just started like talking together. But she's like, I have no idea where I'm going. I'm like, she's like, do you know if America's Mart 1 and America's Mart 2 are the same thing? I'm like, I have no idea. They didn't have any kind of directions. They were just like, it's America's Mart 2. And then you go into America's Mart and it was awful.
Yeah,
no signs at all.
I'd been in America's Mart before Dragon Con started using it. Or no, the first year Dragon Con used it was... Yeah, no, I had been in America's Mart before, but I'd only been in Building 2, which is where they have the vendor hall now. And that was for Walker Stalker Con, and it worked just fine for Walker Stalker Con because it was so much smaller. But then in 2014, they used America's Mart 1 for the vendor hall. If you think America's Mart 2 is bad, like the worst thing about America's Mart 2 is that it's like down, you know, the bottom of that hill, and it's just out of the way from everything. But like America's Mart 1 is a fucking maze. Like, non-excusing my language there. It is a maze. It is impossible to get around. So they did upgrade by moving the vendors to America's Mart 2, except it's farther away from all the other stuff. And then this year with the panels, I didn't experience it firsthand because I didn't go over there till Sunday, but I have friends who are vendors who said they made less money this year than they did previous years, and they couldn't say for certain, but they really believed that it was because there were several times that the building was shut down entirely because when they held panels, even if the panels weren't full, they were taking the safe route and assuming that all the rooms were full and cutting off, you know, entrance because of, you know, fire codes and the number of people in the building. So I didn't have any problems on Sunday, but did anybody else try to go in there on other days?
We went in on Monday. That's whenever I was.
Oh no, that's what it was. Yeah, shoot, it was Monday.
Yeah, it was Monday, and it was like, I guess it wasn't as bad because like I didn't get a chance to go to the vendors last year. So I was kind of like, okay, let's just go and see what the kerfuffle's about. But dude, they had security, and the security were just like, you have to go to this side, you have to go to this side. And I was like, okay, you know. But we all know how much we just love security at Dragon Con.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with
weird,
Dragon.
like,
I actually don't have a problem with Dragon Con security. And honestly, I don't have a problem with hotel security either, y'all.
Yeah,
we were obnoxious that night.
Yeah, we were.
More on that later. What were you going to say, Judson?
I was just going to say I didn't really have that problem. I went there Saturday, or rather Sunday night, you know, kind of not so much in the night, but sort of like, you know, towards the evening, and never really noticed that. And then I went again on Monday and kind of hung around there for a good while. And I mean, I don't know if it was just a rare thing or what, but, you know, talking about the vendors hall, you know, what kind of bothered me was that they moved the artist alley over there. Yeah. And I had never seen like any sort of announcement for it or anything like that. And I had to ask, like, I couldn't find anything about it in the Dragon Con app. It was the Dragon Con app, and I had to ask like where it was before I finally found it.
Well, they actually, and the thing is, we'll never know if they meant for the artist alley to be there the whole time because they moved a ton of things last minute. The Yule Ball was supposed to be in the Sheridan, and they changed it like the week of, I think. if not during Dragon Con, they decided to have it at the Marriott instead.
Okay.
And there was a
Which is a
lot
pro.
of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Which is a
absolutely. But there was a lot of that this year. Like there was one of the shows, I want to say the Doctor Horrible sing along or whatever, is they said it was almost always in the Westin maybe, and all of a sudden this year it was in the Sheraton. And even though that was a change that had been made well prior to Dragon Con, it just wasn't like publicized enough, and people went to the Westin and missed the show because it was actually in the Sheraton.
And that's one of the ones that always fills up. I mean, like that's the habitual full house.
And they didn't. We talked to somebody who helps run it. Brian's very good friends with her, and she said that it wasn't full for either show that they did this year, and she was fairly certain it was because people were going to the wrong place.
Definitely.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't have a problem with the vendors hall on Monday. Last year we went on Sunday and it was miserable. Like we couldn't even move. We went as a group of like 6, I think, or there were 5 or 6 of us that went last year on Sunday. We ended up getting split up within the first 5 minutes that we were in there, and I just like left because it was so crowded. You couldn't even stop and look at anything. So from now on, Monday is my vendor hall day.
I ended up going on Friday, probably around 3 or 4, with one of my good friends, and I have really bad anxiety. Like I went in and I thought I was going to have an anxiety attack right then and there because there's just so many people and they were all pushing and shoving and there's nowhere to walk. If I hadn't been going in to try and get my dad a birthday present, I would have turned around and left.
And to be honest, like that's a problem they have always had with the vendors at Dragon Con. When they in 2012, when they were still in the Marriott in those ballrooms or whatever, there were some of those rooms, if you walked in there about 80% of the time during the convention, it was even worse than it is now. I do think they made the aisles slightly wider this year. If they didn't, then maybe it was just me going on Monday. But like, because I know last year it was a crush in there in like the middle of Sunday afternoon when you'd think it wouldn't be that bad. And I mean, the only thing they can do about it is have fewer vendors or rent more space and spread them out more.
Right, spread them out. Yeah, spread them out is probably.
And I mean, if they haven't learned to do that yet, they're probably not going to in the future. But I didn't know that they'd moved the artist alley. Isn't that always in the Hyatt?
Yeah, it's in the
downstairs in the Hyatt, I think is what he's trying to say. He broke up a little bit.
Yeah, sorry. It serves the Hyatt in the previous years, along with I think the Bazaar.
They made it.
So the last Dragon Con that I think we wanted to talk about was Andrew,
yes.
You pointed out Heroes and Villains beverage line, but it's like this at all the parties. Heroes and Villains is just the worst because it's like the most popular. Can we enter the 21st century and like, I mean, honestly, if cash is what you want to accept, then make it a straight up cash bar. This whole ticket system is ridiculous.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
And I like you said that. I seconded it. And somebody thirded it, and I don't even know who it was.
Well,
like,
it's ridiculous. The line is so long already, alone in and of itself. But then when you double wrap the line for beverage tickets, it gets out of control. And the other thing is, it locks you into the choice of what you can't switch it up if you don't like one thing. Ridiculous.
And like nobody knew exactly what they were doing because I bumped into like 10 or 15 people just standing awkwardly in like this amoeba shape. It wasn't like even a line. They were just kind of like, and I was like, is this a line for the booze? And they're like, we don't know. And I was like,
we got in line for the bar, remember?
Yeah, it's like tickets. Yeah.
And
but like
somebody had to come up to us and be like, no, you have to buy tickets. And we were like, oh, okay, this isn't like we can't buy tickets in this line.
It's a carnival. It's like Mr. Gaddy's now. You have to have a certain number of tickets to get a drink. Okay, cool. Like,
Yeah.
no, that's not how this works. Give me my booze now.
Make me play, like, let me play skee ball or something and win
Right?
some drink tickets. And
Let me throw some balls into a clown's mouth. I don't know.
I know, for the Heroes and Villains Ball, I didn't even make it in because the line was ridiculous. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it was wrapped
Turkey
around like
booze.
8 different times, and then you would go around on the other side, and it was wrapped around that way, then it was upstairs, and it was around the balcony, and then at one point it was through the elevator bank. They had to move it because of fire hazards. Like, I ended up meeting up with you guys after you were leaving. I'm like, I hear Thor.
Yeah.
I hear the call of my people. I must go.
We got there at like 10:30 or so, maybe 10:45, and it was, the line was very
Easy.
long, but it was moving very fast.
Yeah, it was.
But then they filled up the room and the line stopped moving. However, I will give the Westin this. They handled that line and that crowd situation far better than any hotel ever has before for that ball. Like, it's in the past, I'm pretty sure, been in the Marriott, and it's been a clusterfuck. So, like, kudos to the Westin for handling it the way they did, because they, despite the line being very long, they did control it extremely well.
Yeah,
I will say that. Like, even when
My
it was
one
every which way, they did really well with that.
my one advertisement.
Poor Andrew just keeps breaking up.
Explain, like, band. Sorry. I had to line up, before, and it didn't specify to give you a band or anything, that it was.
Oh,
just,
yeah.
for the-
Okay. So in case you're breaking up for like everybody, I can't really tell. No, it's okay. I know what you're talking about. Andrew went and got in line and thought it was a pre-check line because that's how they were advertising it, when really it was just the line for people to get into the dance eventually, and they hadn't even opened it yet, because they had the official event listed as starting at 8, and now they may have changed it at some point. But if they only changed it in the Dragon Con app, again, we've already talked about this. Who the hell would have known? So, did you, Judson? Did you go to the Heroes and Villains Ball? Are we losing him as well?
he's frozen forever.
I see him
No,
moving.
didn't.
He's, like,
I was
flinching.
on my way there, and then I ran into y'all, the Thor
Oh,
group.
yeah.
So I ended up just hanging out.
Yeah, I apologize for me not remembering certain things.
No.
Saturday
I'm
was
pretty-
Saturday was supposed to be my, like, I'm gonna be lame and go to bed early and not drink that much night, and then Thor happened. So
Did not happen. Yeah, it did not happen.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
and then Thor happened. So
You
yeah,
could say, and then you dropped the hammer.
yeah, there you go.
What about the hammer?
He said I dropped the hammer.
Ha ha.
Yeah, that worked out.
Sorry, I'm distracted. They just released a bunch of Bob's Burgers themed clothes, and I'm just like,
Becca's always doing things she's not supposed to be doing when she joins in on these webcasts.
you know what, Tara? I've seen the stuff that you're doing. I don't want to hear it, okay? I have sat beside you while you do stuff. I don't want to hear it. You leave me alone.
I feel like
If
this
you're
is
gonna
going down a dark path. Okay, so we've gone through some cons. It's halfway through ish the webcast right now. So I want to talk about, like, we've talked about the app. We've talked about all the cons, I think. DragonCon Pros. Who has DragonCon Pros? Somebody has them?
Let's see. I'm looking to see what I said for pros.
It wasn't that crowded this year. Like, I
Yeah,
know, like,
That's fine.
yeah. There were supposedly more people this year, so I don't know if it was, I think it was a combination of better crowd control in general, and also the weather. Like, holy crap, the weather, you guys.
Yes.
Elena's like, it's you probably thought it was super, super hot or something. Ha 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 ha. This year the weather was gorgeous.
I'm
compared
from
to, like,
Ohio. That was disgusting.
but I'm telling you, the weather this year compared to previous years was gorgeous. It was like, I can walk outside without dying. This is amazing.
I spent the whole weekend going, how do Southerners live down here? This is ridiculous.
We're all
Sweet
secretly
tea.
amphibians.
Ew.
Sweet.
Fish.
Lots of sweet.
I was ewing the sweet tea, not the amphibian part.
Oh, okay.
I like
You
regular
know
tea,
from.
though.
Yeah, no, we got, climate change, guys. We got great weather this year. I mean,
That
it
hurricane
was,
really helped out a lot.
yeah, I mean,
drove
that may
through
have
it.
been
I
part of
drove
it.
right through it.
Was
Is that
was it
Hermine?
bad? Yeah, Hurricane Hermine.
Hey Keith, Hermine. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it was unbelievably, like, nice this year. And I mean,
Especially
it's
for
still,
Atlanta.
I was still dying of heat at some points, but mostly when I was inside.
Yeah.
The only time, like, one of the only times I was inside and actually physically comfortable was in the Walk of Fame. I feel like, and I don't think I've had this problem in previous years. Maybe it was just that it was so hot outside that when I went inside, it felt better. But the Marriott, especially this year, I was dying, like, everywhere except the Walk of Fame. I mean, I was on panels down in the Marriott basement, and I'm like fanning myself with my phone or something because it was so hot. And there was like no air. Part of it was that there was no air movement. So
Yeah.
I don't know what was going. Am I the only one who noticed that? Was that worse this year, or is it just like a comparison thing to how hot it was outside?
I think it
I
might
don't
be
know.
the comparison thing because, like, I mean, I was really, really hot like last year, but I was also wearing a Velociraptor mask, and I was hot in general. But like this year, I did a character with Lexa from 100, and I was wearing like a fur trimmed long black coat and black jeans and black everything, like heavy, and I was fine outside. But the second I was inside, it was just like, oh my god. So the Walk of Fame, the Hall of Fame, whatever, it was actually kind of chilly sometimes. So I don't know, maybe that's
Chilly is better than hot at some point. Like,
yeah.
normally, I'm the type of person that prefers heat over cold, but like, I mean, especially Saturday when I was wearing my Kylo Ren dress, which is basically 100 layers of tulle and doesn't breathe at all. I was wearing Star Wars boxers underneath, and I kept lifting up my dress and like fanning my legs with my dress. And people are like kind of looking at me and then realizing I'm wearing shorts. And then the few people that realized I was wearing Star Wars boxers were like, wow, you just really went all out. As I'm like fanning my crotch with my giant dress. Disney Princess Kylo Ren, guys.
And I know that this doesn't really have to do with the heat, but I know the sky bridges were better this year, despite the release of
Much
Pokemon
better.
Go. But I have to say, because like I came back and forth between the Hyatt and the Marriott a lot, and I also went to the Hilton, and last year I didn't go to the Hilton at all. But anyway, no, they had like the security people there. They had like maybe 2 or 3 at each checkpoint, and they were like badges, badges, badges. And it was like a lot of intense pressure, but at the same time, the line was just constant. Like, I don't think we stopped at all. Usually, like, it'll be like a bunch of people trying to get through one space, but they weren't letting that happen. They were like, you know, if you don't have your badge, you have to turn around. You're not allowed to come in here.
And that's really weird to me because, like, last year, I would say
Yes.
80% of the time I never had a badge checked, and this year
Yeah.
it was more than last. Like, I had my badge checked especially between the Hyatt and the Marriott. I had it checked more than last year, but there were, I mean, I'm talking at least 60% of the time there wasn't even anybody standing there, especially earlier in the day. Like, the times I had to go for panels and stuff, like earlier in the day, like, nobody
this
even
was
standing there checking badges. I
this
mean,
was
they
like
were.
later.
I will just say, you
I
know,
was gonna say later on they were on it though.
Yeah, later in the day they were on it, and I think at the hotel entrances they were on it, but they weren't as crazy about it the past couple of years between the hotels. Like, I only went to the Hilton once this year, so I'm not sure how it was there, but definitely between the Hyatt and Marriott, they were crazy about checking them at the Hyatt. I didn't really go inside at the Marriott all that much, so it was mostly like, if you got into the Hyatt somehow, if you just had a Hyatt key card, there were huge portions of the day where you could end up in the Marriott without a problem.
Right.
Which is...
I didn't get checked at all going into the Hilton. I was usually going pretty late/early. So like I'm talking, 3 a.m. And those poor people at the checkpoints, they're just like,
I mean, mine were normal daytime things, though. I mean, they were like very much, like earlier in the day when I was on panels and stuff.
I just have to say, this is the first year in 5 years that I wasn't stuck against me in one of the walkways because it was that where experience.
I didn't hear the M part of that, but I'm guessing you were saying this is the first year you didn't get stuck in a walkway. Raise your hand if you've been stuck in a habit trail at some point during Dragon. Yep. Judson, have you ever been stuck in a habit trail? Poor Judson, he's just...
Oh, yeah. And,
yeah. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Yeah, I remember one time I was stuck with someone, and it was about, I think, 3 years ago, and I was with someone who was basically had really bad anxiety about crowds, which, is, if you have bad anxiety about crowds, Dragon Con is the place to be, let me tell you. And it was just frozen the whole time. There was a huge rainstorm outside, so everybody had just flooded the habit trails.
Oh,
that's
I was,
the
trying
same
to
one.
keep her from having a panic attack.
That was.
I think I remember that.
I remember Sunday afternoon. Yeah, Sunday afternoon, 2014. I personally got stuck in the one between the Marriott and the Hyatt, and it wasn't necessarily people flooding the habit trails. It was the normal crowds of people trying to get back and forth between the hotels, but then everybody from outside went into the hotels, and the hotels had to shut down because they were at capacity. So they weren't letting anybody back into the Marriott, and they weren't letting anybody back into the Hyatt. So everybody in between was stuck in that habit trail for 45 minutes. It was miserable.
Mm-mm.
As the rain pours down outside and it gets hotter and hotter inside the habit trail. And the only saving grace on my part was that I had a giant 32-ounce mug of Bloody Mary with me. So yeah.
I'll get you through anything.
Just about.
I don't think I had any downfall yet.
But yeah, so crowds weren't as bad this year, but yeah, I do believe that was most likely because the weather outside was better, so I think a lot of people were actually traveling outside because it was more comfortable a lot of the time. And Andrew, you said something about food trucks. I noticed those too, and they were in several places. And it was really I didn't get to go to any of them, but wow, that was so nice to see more than in the hotels. Yeah, there's just the crappy pizza, hot dog, hamburger vendors, but right outside there's great food trucks.
Yeah.
What was all this about macaroni and cheese?
No, it was good because usually it's just pizza and hamburgers, but.
Bekah, what did you say about macaroni and cheese?
I don't know, but I guess
lots of options.
There was so many times I was walking past drunk people and they were like, "Have you had the macaroni and cheese here? It's so good." And I was like. And I was just wondering, I was like, where's this coming from? And apparently, I don't know if it was I think it was a Hyatt maybe, down where they usually have the Voodoo Bar or whatever. They have these, it's a circle, and they had a buffet almost. I think that might have been where the macaroni and cheese is coming from. I don't know. It was just a thought.
I have no idea. I did not hear anybody talk about the
Because
macaroni.
I know Emily Smith was talking about it, and I just remember thinking, that's nice.
I know one of the food trucks I went to was, it was something like Grandma's Chicken and Waffles.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yes.
I can wax poetic about Grandma's Chicken and Waffles.
Yes.
I don't know what they did to their French fries, but like, I'm like, can I go back to Atlanta just so I can get some Grandma's French fries, please and thank you.
You don't even want her chicken and waffles. That's so weird. But you want.
I mean, I want the chicken too, but
Yes.
French fries, they're like on a totally different level for me.
I wonder if she fries them in like duck fat or something.
I don't know, but all I know is I need to know how I can acquire more. Other than
Judson,
having
you live in Atlanta area. Do you know Grandma's Chicken and Waffles?
Tell me the secrets of your chicken and
You're
waffles.
talking about the food truck, yeah. Actually, they no, the chicken on that's really good. Like they bread it in something, and it's like the spices too. It's really good. I've been to that food truck a few times. It's addictive.
Like, I don't even like spicy foods, but that had the right amount of kick for their chicken, and I was like, okay, I'm cool.
That's why I like Bojangles, man.
Oh, I got it on my
Stop
way
and have
back.
that on the way home.
Yes.
Oh,
Val,
yeah, I wish they had more Bojangles in Atlanta.
We have no
Bojangles
Bojangles in the north.
God, there was a Bojangles like walking distance from my house in Greenville, and now I am just screwed.
Welcome.
Is there even Bojangles in Orlando, Andrew?
Oh no, there are no Bojangles in Orlando.
But I need their Cajun chicken club filet sandwich.
I am very,
Spicy
very
fries.
sorry. You will have.
Yes, Cajun fries.
Bowberry biscuits.
You can actually, they sell the seasoning at the restaurants now. You can actually buy that stuff. I have some in my cabinet.
That's good to know.
I
Next
need it
trip
in my
home.
life.
Oh, damn it.
I'll
I'm
buy
sorry.
you some the next time I go back to South Carolina, Andrew.
I thought I found a Bojangles here in Ohio, and it was like Bo
Stu,
Space Jangles nightclub. I'm like, no.
Don't go there and eat their chicken and their fries. Don't do it.
I'm like, you tease.
One of the many reasons
On the
never go
record-
to Ohio.
Listen, Sassy.
on the record,
At least we're better than Michigan.
Oh. Mm.
Hold on, let me have my episode of Drunk History again. Give me a minute.
What were you going to say, Andrew? On the
Sorry.
record?
oh, I was gonna say I just found the news article. All their in Orlando in 2015 locations. They closed all of them.
Oh, good. Just in time for me to move back here.
You to arrive. Yep.
It was my fault.
You
So-
made them close the Bojangles.
Yeah. So, like, food-wise, the food truck thing was great. I mean, I don't know, like, everything else I have to say about food is it's not even cons. It's like the Hooters down there on Peachtree Street, the service is effing terrible. The food is Hooters food, so it's not good. But I always have fun eating there with my friends. Meehan's, the Irish pub, has really good food, but terrible service. And not just at Dragon Con. Like, I've been there several times when there was, like, nothing going on in Atlanta, and good food, terrible service. The food court, it's impossible to find chairs or tables, but most people are really great. Like, if you're if you see somebody leaving and you ask and they're like still getting ready, they'll be like, oh yeah, go ahead and sit down, and they'll just continue gathering up their stuff. Like, somebody did that for us, and then we did it for the next people when we were leaving. And people are just really, everybody I've encountered in the food court is nice about like switching, like as they're leaving, giving up their table, that type of thing. And of course, there's a lot of options down there, but like the only ones that don't have lines or the food is terrible. Like, I had the pizza, and oh my god, that pizza was not.
Is that the Roma's pizza or whatever?
Yeah, it was not cooked.
I heard so many bad things about that place. Just
Yeah,
on the
we
Dragon Con group.
got it once because there was nobody in line, and now I know why there was nobody in line.
I waited in line at Chick-fil-A for 45 minutes at that food court down there, and I was like,
For what?
for food at the food court at the Chick-fil-A.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I sat on the floor to
good
eat
chicken.
it. Yeah, it was good.
I know there was some kind of place with all they did was serve cheesecake, and it was personal cheesecakes. That was amazing.
Yeah. I saw that one.
No line, $5, get a little cheesecake, and they even give you a whatever theme you end up getting. They had little rings that they put in them, so you could just roll around with those on too. I may or may not have indulged on Sunday.
I was gonna say, I don't eat cheesecake. I miss that entirely, possibly because I don't eat cheesecake, but
Tara doesn't eat cheesecake because she's an alien.
No, I just
Sounds
don't
like it.
cheesecake. It's too heavy. There's never enough chocolate involved. It's and for as much as I love cheese, you'd think I would eat cheesecake, but
cheese, good. Cake, amazing. Cheesecake, apparently nasty crap according to Tara.
I can't with you. I really
Okay,
can't.
more pros for Dragon Con.
The parties. Let's talk about the
the party.
The parties.
So many good parties.
Hey, did you guys hear about that one in the Hyatt? What was the room number? That one room on the Hyatt? Did you hear about that party? The balcony?
On Sunday? Yeah, it was crazy, man.
Yeah,
I thought there was 15 people.
You're gonna break it up.
There were 15 people hitting on the balcony.
Yeah, man. I heard that people in the room just closed.
We were very much
Yeah, we were.
I didn't mean for it to be like that. The problem was I invite people back to the room, and those people bring 10 people, and there's 3 groups of people that all bring 10 people, along with the 2 or 3 or 4 people that that I'd already invited, and then bam, you can't fucking move in our room. And we're having to hide pizza so that people don't eat it, and all of our beer is gone in a 2-minute period.
I was 10 people on my bed.
Yeah. Too lit.
Guys lost an entire handle of vodka in 24 hours. I was really kind of impressed.
Ice and FireCon 2.0, too lit.
Yeah.
Ice and FireCon. Oh.
I don't even remember who all was there on Sunday because I was so worried about us getting in trouble that I just blanked out everything that happened before and after that.
I can tell you who was there. Most of the people who were there. We'll talk later.
Yeah. I mean, I know the people that I'm good friends with who are there, but there's a lot of people that I just have no idea. So it is what it is.
I remember at one point some guy dressed up as, I think it was Nightwing, he came in, was like, hey, I'm here for the party, and we're like, everybody already got kicked out, go away.
Yeah. Or that guy that threw up in our bathroom for an hour.
Toby.
No name.
It's not a Dragon Con. It's not a Dragon Con unless somebody throws up, all right?
Oh, yeah.
He threw up a lot.
I walked
an
past
hour.
somebody in the Marriott, and he was laying on the floor, and he had just been sick, and he was laying in it, and he was texting on his phone, and I was like, this is so bad.
I mean, I'll be honest, the person who got sick in our bathroom was extremely polite about it. He said, I need to use your restroom, I'm going to be sick. He did stay in there for a very long time, and it got a little bit problematic at the end because people had to go pee, but he was very clean and neat and everything, and he was very polite about it. But that's there won't be any too lit parties in my room.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I'm too old. Especially as we had to get up the next morning and get out of the room and drive home and shit.
Monday was a very, very long day.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to stay Monday night and leave Tuesday morning next year.
That sounds smart.
Me and Chloe already decided we're just going to fly back because I don't think we got back to my house until midnight.
Yeah,
It was
on Monday.
just
you guys could
disgusting.
probably
Yeah.
fly Southwest for like nothing.
Oh yeah. No, I already looked. Honestly, I would have flown this year, but I jumped in like a month ahead of time, so I couldn't find any cheap airfare.
Yeah, yeah.
But this year, I'm like, I'm already looking. I'm like, what you got for me, Southwest? You've done good for me in the past. Treat me well, baby. Treat me well.
And then Judson can just kiss my ass because he lives like 10 minutes away.
Oh, yeah.
Andrew, did you fly back or drive? Now I can't hear him at all.
Same.
Andrew, you're muted.
Andrew, can you hear us? All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay.
there we go.
Can you hear it now?
Good.
Did you fly or drive?
This is the first year that I did not fly. Every other year I've flown to Dragon Con, and I drove up and back. But the one great thing is that Atlanta is so well connected with the train. That goes right to pick up my girlfriend from the airport when she flew there. It was easy and back within an hour. I mean, there were no problems whatsoever. I mean, that's the one. It's really well connected in terms of flights.
Oh yeah, like
you know,
as you get on the MARTA right at the airport, and it literally takes you to the Hyatt, pretty much. I've never flown to Dragon Con. I mean, even if I'm still living in Florida next year, I'll drive. Right. I'll just drive up Wednesday, and like I said, probably drive back Tuesday. It's only like 7.5 hours or something, right?
7.5 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not bad.
7.5, 8 if you're stopping a little. For Bojangles, you know, 8 for Bojangles.
8 for Bojangles. So yeah, hold on, I've got to bring up the document here. Other pros, we talked about food. Okay, parties in general. Yule Ball being moved to the Marriott was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Woo!
Like, I know the Sheraton has bigger ballrooms, but honestly, like, people walking, the Sheraton is the smallest hotel. Way more people stay at the other hotels. It's also the farthest hotel, so it's like no party should be at the Sheraton. Or I don't know, they can keep having the hootenanny there because I'm never going to go to that.
Well, a lot of the problem, it being in the Sheraton, anything being in the Sheraton creates a problem.
I mean, the walk there and back from basically every hotel except the Hilton is horrible. Like, and on top of that, they are so, I know they provide like water and everything, but the fact that they don't allow like any outside beverages at all, even water, is like really bothersome to me. Like, I'm paying for a convention ticket. If I want to bring my bottle full of wine, like my plastic bottle, like with some wine in it, I should be able to. Sorry. Like, I just hate the Sheraton. I am an unabashed Sheraton hater. Like,
yeah.
The Sheraton's the Ohio of the hotels.
Oh,
what is it? The Sheraton. That is the Simba. That is the Sheraton Simba. You must never go there.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how we're playing it. Okay, Georgia boy, let's go.
She's excited. Feisty.
But no, I was gonna say, like,
in general, do any of us like the Sheraton?
I can't say anything about like distance-wise because I didn't stay at any of the host hotels. I was down at the 12th Centennial.
Let me just say, I've gone to the Yule Ball year, the best one, period, because it was in the Marriott, and also because it was in the Marriott. Period. That 5 years in a row that were relocated from the Sheraton were better attended this year than any of the past years.
I mean, I like, we were supposed to go to the Whedonverse, the hootenanny thing, thinking it was like still gonna somewhat be like the Avengers Ball. Then we found out that A, it wasn't the Avengers Ball at all, and B, it was in the Sheraton, and we were like, ha ha ha, no. And then the Yule Ball, I was seriously like, do I really want to attend this if it's in the Sheraton? And it turns out it's in the Marriott, and I was like, yep, going. Like I avoid the Sheraton at all costs. The only time I ever go there is if I walk down there with my friends to get their badges. I mean, last year I went to disability services there, but like I said earlier, like I couldn't even make myself walk down there to disability services this year. I couldn't.
Yeah, I think I went to the Sheraton twice. Once was to get my badge, and then the other was just to like go see a friend who was at the Time Lord party, the Doctor Who thing.
Oh, okay.
And I was there for maybe like 5-10 minutes, and I was like, I remembered I didn't like Doctor Who all that much, so I left.
So yeah, I mean, other than that though, when I was at the Yule Ball, it was fun. I went to the Steampunk Ball. There was like next to nobody there, but I had a fun time because I was with friends. The Heroes and Villains party was lame though.
Yeah.
Like
we made a better party with just us. Thor more years.
Thor more
years.
Yeah.
Thor more years.
He just very weakly
We're gonna
said,
build a
"Thor
wall
more
around
years."
Niflheim.
We're gonna build a better rainbow bridge and make
Thor.
We're gonna make the frost giants pay for it.
But yeah, no, Heroes and Villains. Like I said, I applaud the West End on their handling of the line. But other than that, the DJ wasn't good. The party itself, it was just the Avengers Ball at the West End was always great. I have no idea what happened with Heroes and Villains this year. It was not fun.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. You know, the same bartender, same everything else, but it just was very lackluster this year.
I mean, it was like half the place was completely lit up. Like I said, the DJ wasn't that great. I mean, we tried and tried and tried to just stick with it because we were supposed to meet people there, and then it was like they were stuck in. Gave up. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, other than that, like I had fun at the parties, even like the steampunk one where there wasn't really anybody there. I still had a good time. I don't know. Any other pros from you guys? We're getting close to 9, so if you have like big highlights, please let me know.
Well, I had a blast at the rave. There was a guy there who had it was basically like a stripper pole mounted on this platform that was like remote controlled. He kept moving around, and a bunch of friends danced on it. But the best part was there were these two guys dressed as like Daft Punk, you know, lit up helmets and everything, and they were like both like grinding on the pole at the same time, dancing with each other. It was. I wish I had recorded video of it. It was beautiful.
I saw the guy with the pole thing, but he was always just like passing by, so I never actually got to participate. But it looked fun. Guest-wise, I mean, I don't know.
Also, that Josh brought the Iron Throne again.
Oh yeah.
Joffrey sat on it.
Yeah, Josh is so like the fact that he always gets the very few Game of Thrones guests to attend DragonCon to sit on that throne is just awesome.
He got Doran to sit on it this year.
I know, and like
House Martell on the throne.
And like the throne is amazing, and I love that. Like I only saw it once at DragonCon, but I love that doesn't matter because if when it comes to Ice and Fire Con, it's there all weekend for the taking, and like there's like we're small enough that there's like no. The throne is there, and you just walk up and you get your 30,000 pictures on it in every costume you have for the entire weekend. And poor Josh doesn't have to lug it anywhere because it's in the same place.
God bless him.
Seriously, I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, he's a trooper.
Kudos to Josh and his Iron Throne.
Yeah.
Here.
Cheers.
Guest-wise, I Becca, I saw that you said something about like people not being happy with some of the guests, but honestly, like I don't ever feel that way with Dragon Con. Like I don't go if I want to go see super famous people, I go to San Diego Comic Con and hope that I run into them at a bar or something. Like that's not what Dragon Con is about. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I don't feel like Dragon
This
Con
is
is about seeing famous people.
well,
I
like
just
this
don't.
is not people.
agree
Like
with you.
these are not like my friends or anything. This is just people like that I heard like when I was standing in lines or walking past, whatever. They were just like moaning and complaining. It wasn't like anybody I was with. And I just remember thinking, that's dumb, because I loved all the people that came. Like, it was really cool.
Oh, and Judson, I saw that you met Janina Gavankar, and like I didn't even know she was going to be there, and I walked up to her booth, and I was like, because Brian had like wandered back to the room, and we're both like fans of the league. So I like walked up to her booth, and I was like, oh my God, are you going to be here for a while? My boyfriend like needs to see you because he's met you before. And she was like, yeah, I'll be here till 5:30 or something. So I like get Brian on the phone. I'm like, you have to get back down here. The Shiva is here. The Shiva is here. Get back down here. She recorded a video for him for free, by the way, because she's awesome. Basically saying that his fantasy football team is going to win his league this year. So
Nice.
that like made his convention, and it made my convention to be able to like, I had no idea she was going to be there and be able to be like, hey Brian, guess who's here? But I like that you got a million, what is it, a million cool points? Oh, he's not even on anymore. Judson got a million cool points for being the first to shout at the Shiva. I can't even pronounce the name that is used, but yeah, so. I met Will Friedle. He was really hilarious. He spent like several minutes talking to us, asking Brian and I very pushy questions about our relationship.
Yeah, and the dogs.
Yeah. And
oh boy.
well, no, it was funny because it was like he was like, oh, so you two are in a relationship, and we're like, yes, and he's like, so where's it going? And we're like, well, Brian's like, oh, well, we just moved in together, and he's like, oh, so I don't even remember. Then he asked about somehow we got in a conversation about the dogs and the cats, and like Will Friedle was asking all the questions, by the way. This was not Brian and I like bringing this up. He was very, and he's like, oh, I do this all the time. I like making people uncomfortable. And the funny thing is the two of us are kind of like, we're not really uncomfortable with this. Like,
we're more confused.
But so Will Friedle was really funny. But that was really him and the Shiva were really my only guest experiences. I'm not a big, I don't go to the convention for the guests.
I would agree with that. I think you're completely right. If you want the guests, you go to Comic-Con or
you go to like
you
go to Wizard World, you go to Walker Stalker, where they're literally these conventions exist to give you guests, but you pay a shit ton of money just to get into the convention, and it doesn't even include actually seeing the guests. Like,
correct.
That's not what I go to drag. Like, somebody on the Dragon Con subreddit in response to my article about like how it's an old boys club or whatever, and again, I said that not meaning to gender it. I was using the cliche term because it's a cliche term for a reason, and it does apply to Dragon Con in the most simplistic of ways. But somebody was like, oh, you're not an A-lister. I don't care about you. And I was like, A-listers don't go to Dragon Con. Like,
well, come on,
the most like slightly A-lister person who goes to Dragon Con is like this year was Charlie Cox. Last year was probably Karen Gillan, but even they aren't really A-listers. Like, Karen Gillan played like a tertiary character in Guardians of the Galaxy, and she was in Doctor Who. Like, A-listers are Chris Pratt, Chris Evans, you know what I mean?
Hold
like
on. They had Judge Reinhold there. I mean, come on.
I mean, but that's the thing though. Like, Does anybody go to conventions just for the guests out of the 5 of us?
No.
I went to exactly one.
No.
I mean, but in general, I go to conventions to just go to conventions. I don't go because I expect to meet famous people. And like
if I
going to a convention because you want to meet someone famous, there's nothing wrong with that. But like that's not what Dragon Con is about.
It's about poor life choices.
Yep.
True story.
Yes.
It's about drinking too much and wearing too many costumes for too many days.
Yes.
And climbing those stairs at the Hyatt over and over and over again.
The stickier they get.
Even when your calves are screaming in pain.
And the Marriott.
So anybody else, Dragon Con pros, guest stories, anything before we start kind of wrapping this up?
I mean, I'm a big fan of the 100, and they had five technically, of the 100 cast members, and the guy, like everybody, like Bobby and Jared and Sachin and Lindsay and Alessandra, they were all super accommodating, and it was goofy, and they were just really great people. And like I didn't go for them. I go to cons for my friends and to see my friends and hang out, and as Tara said, dress up in cool things. And but no, like it was an added perk. I guess it was a bonus. But they're really nice, and I got to meet Jack Gleason as well, which I love Joffrey. I'm not even ashamed. Like I'm not even afraid to admit it, but he's really a sweet kid.
Well, and again, I don't judge anybody who goes to conventions simply because they want to interact with famous people. But like, if you want to interact with A-list people, you're not going to Dragon Con for that, because it doesn't
have A-list people.
Yeah, I mean, even John Barrowman, as much as I love him, he is not an A-list star.
No.
I mean,
like.
He's going to be in Ohio at the end of the month, and I'm very excited.
I mean,
and John Barrowman is freaking amazing. Everybody loves John Barrowman, but he is not an A-list star. Yes,
yeah. I mean, people, they may not be A-listers or whatever, but some people have attachments, like Will Friedle, for example, like.
Right. No.
And a collector.
Boy Meets World. I still love that man.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, like I'm coming at this from like a kind of like a jaded standpoint, because I have literally been told like 10 times in the past 2 days that like people don't give a crap about anybody other than A-list stars, and it was like directed at me, but it was directed at Dragon Con in general, where like I don't go to fan panels because they don't have A-list stars on them.
Who cares?
You know what I mean?
That's bullshit. But I mean, the only reason why people go to Dragon Con is for the parties, for some of the panels, for maybe seeing the parade. It's not for A-list celebrities. When you buy the tickets, I really say they're buying next year's tickets because of celebrities. It's always because of the parties or their friends or whatever other reason, but it's never because of the celebrities, like you said.
Yeah, you don't know who's even going until like 2 months before.
Yeah.
All right, so before we wrap this up, most memorable moments. Who wants to go first?
Well, for me, it's actually kind of has to do a little bit with the celebrity thing.
Oh yeah, I know. You got kicked out, Judson, and I was talking about the Shiva. So tell your story.
Oh yeah, so yeah, big fan. Big fan of the league, and Janina Gavankar, who plays Shiva on the show, was there, and apologies to anybody who's not a fan of the league, so this will probably be lost on you. But Astra's
I get it.
So has anyone shouted Shiva Kamini Samakandakram? Says no, you're the first. You get 1 million cool points for that.
What day was this?
After that. Gosh, I think it was Friday.
Okay. We saw
Friday
her
or Saturday, but yeah.
We saw her on Sunday, and we didn't shout that at her, but I was saying earlier, I think you were kicked out when I said it. I didn't even know she was there, and when I realized she was there, Brian wasn't with me, and I like immediately contacted him and I was like, the Shiva is here, come get your video, because a few years ago she recorded a video for him saying his fantasy team was going to win his league, so she recorded another one this year. So that was really she is such a nice person. Like, she is fun. She's fun and hilarious and just like, yeah, she's
really down to earth.
Yeah, exactly. So memorable moments. I'll go with mine real quick. Honestly, like, I have to just say in general, I'm a little disappointed about the fact that I still haven't found any pictures of myself, but like, I really half-assed my costumes this year. But like, when I did a morning gown Cersei on Friday. I had my Disney Princess Kylo Ren, which was like my least half-assed costume, on Saturday, and then Sunday I did Pearl from Steven Universe in her tuxedo from the Mr. Greg episode, and like, really, even though I haven't seen like any pictures of myself, I really had like great feelings about the way these costumes were received and how many people asked me to take pictures. I think I had more people ask me to take pictures this year than any prior year, despite the fact that most of my costumes were totally thrown together and half-assed. Like, probably Kylo Ren was the only one that wasn't. That was the only one that was like legit planned out for months before Dragon Con. So that felt good. Also, Thor, just running around with a fucking giant group of people holding ridiculous anti-Loki signs all night Saturday night was just great.
Can I just say God bless Scott for being like so chill about everything? And us just giving him shit for being from
For those of you watching, we have a friend named Scott from New Zealand. And he was dressed as Loki on Saturday night, and we knew he was going to be dressed as Loki, and that's why we put together our anti-Loki Vote Thor campaign. And he was such a good sport about it. But he knows us, and he knows it's all in good fun. So. So yeah, other pluses.
I'll give you a second.
Let's see. The hiding people in the balcony, and my Rose Quartz cosplay on Sunday was really well received, which is nice. And we found some great, like I found a Greg and a Steven, and there's an amazing Garnet. And Tara and I got some cute pictures together. And then just mostly it was just my interactions with my friends. And of course, and then across the street were gay pride protesters. And my friend Lauren and I were both wearing our Alexa, and we went over and took pictures in front of the I guess it would technically be the anti-gay pride. And it was a lot of fun. And at the 100 shoot that we did, there was crickets everywhere, and there was a girl who was terrified of crickets, and she was screaming, and she was wearing Lexa, and so it was funny. And also,
crickets are gross, but why would you be terrified of them?
Because they were like climbing in her hair and up into her clothes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so we had like this big giant funny joke, and then I also saw the Power Rangers fighting a T-Rex and Godzilla in the Hyatt lobby, and that was pretty cool. But no, I think just seeing my friends, and I really don't get many pictures, like people asking me to take pictures, but whenever I was in Rose, and then also in Enchantress, which is from DC, and that's the night that I was doing the Thor thing, I got like a lot of compliments and stuff, and so that was nice for me too.
I find that people at Dragon Con just tend to generally be more like complimentary of your like, there's always going to be assholes, but like at smaller cons I feel like people tend to be a lot more shy. And when I say smaller conventions, I mean like Conuga and stuff like that. Not that I'm bashing those conventions, because I love them, but like, unless it's Ice and Fire Con, where everybody and pretty much knows everybody eventually, whether they know each other from the start or know each other, after a day or so, like the kind of, I guess maybe more like mid-sized conventions are the ones. MegaCon is huge too, and it's like the people at these conventions just aren't as open and friendly and complimentary as those at Dragon Con. It's just a different sort of environment.
Yeah, it was nice, and it was nice.
So real quick, does anybody else have any big memorable moments?
Oh, I was gonna say real quick, I really love the Star Wars puppet show. It happened the year in the late night puppet. It was this year.
Of course, he's breaking up.
Excellent, and it was everybody, like all ages appropriate. So puppet stuff, but.
So you broke up a little bit, so I'm just going to recap that. Andrew,
of course, breaking up.
No. Yeah, of course you're breaking up now. You were fine a little bit ago. Andrew loved the Star Wars Trilogy puppet show. It's all ages. It was very funny. Lots of pop culture references. So yeah, so that's a plus. Anybody else real quick with the highlights, or can we move on to...
I just wanted to say I had a lot of fun at the Game of Thrones photo shoot since this was my first year going. There was an absolutely excellent cosplayer that they did the Walk of Shame, Cersei.
Oh yeah, Sarah.
They did a
video. We know her.
They did a video of her going down the stairs, and everyone in the crowd is just all standing there shouting shame at her incessantly, and I'm like, that takes a lot more guts than I would have personally.
So before, real quick, Judson, you were at Ice and FireCon that year, weren't you? Before the show ever did the Walk of Shame, I did the Walk of Shame at Ice and FireCon wearing nothing but seamless nude underwear and a seamless nude, like, strapless bra and a bald cap. And so yeah, because that was what the book version was. So it's like seeing like somebody do like this really awesome show version. I'm like, gosh darn it! Like, do I need to do this again? Because I still have I have a video of it on YouTube, but like I don't share it with anybody. Because I'm like,
have to request that link.
99% naked, but yeah.
I have a copy, Elena.
So
Gotcha.
Justin, did you have anything else you wanted to point out, or do we want to move real quick into the conclusion? I hear nothing from Judson. Maybe he's frozen again.
I'm here.
He's moving.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, DragonCon 2017 planning, Hyatt grandfather clause. I'm in. Super excited about that. Do we know when they're releasing rooms to the public? No. Marriott is supposedly the first week in October, so may the odds be ever in your favor. Hyatt is usually the week before the Marriott, but if Marriott is releasing them the very first week in October, they may be after this year. Keep an eye on the DragonCon website, social media, and also highly suggest following, if you're on Reddit, follow the DragonCon subreddit, and on Facebook, check out the DragonCon rooms. I can't remember if it's a page or a group, but if you search for DragonCon rooms, you'll find it. It's got a lot of members, likes, whatever. So Marriott and Hyatt will be early October. Sheraton, I'm not sure if they're sold out yet, but they were taking reservations. But they're requiring a non-refundable full payment for your entire stay up front, and the names for all of the guests, which can't be changed. So LOL, fuck the Sheraton.
That's gonna go over really well.
It has.
Yeah.
I mean, they continue to sell out. So go Sheraton. I just hate the Sheraton.
Yeah.
I am an unabashed Sheraton hater.
It's another reason they're the Ohio of hotels.
At one point, somebody literally was like, "Yeah, stay away from the Sheraton. We don't want you anyway. You make the Sheraton uncool." And I was like, "Okay." The Sheraton makes the Sheraton uncool, but okay.
It's mostly like gamers and stuff, is what I was told.
And then Weston.
Sure.
I don't know, Judson or Andrew's breaking up again. Weston releases their rooms in
Sorry.
blocks. It's okay. The first block is sold out, but keep checking for openings for future blocks. The Hyatt, if you don't get Hyatt Hunger Games rooms, they also, the past 2 years, have released later blocks. That's actually how I got into the Hyatt for 2015. So I like I said, definitely follow the Dragon Con subreddit, join or like the Dragon Con room. I think it's a group, the Dragon Con rooms group. Highly suggest joining that on Facebook. Also, just generally, like, search the crap out of hotels in downtown downtown Atlanta right now, because most of them are already booking for next year. So yeah, so do that.
I highly recommend the 12th Centennial. Stayed at it this year. Beautiful hotel, really nicely well done. It's only like 4 blocks away.
Yeah, and there's also the Aloft is also about 2 or 3 blocks from the Hyatt, and that's, I've heard, really nice. Brian stayed there a couple years ago, and then Hotel Indigo right on Peachtree between the Hyatt and the Westin is really nice, but they're very small. So most likely if they opened rooms, they're already sold out.
Yeah, that's where we're aiming to go next
But
year.
yes, in all cases, may the Dragon Con hotel games, may the odds be ever in your favor. Upcoming events. I'm probably going to MegaCon Tampa Bay at the end of October. I've got the Miami Book Fair in November. But mostly right now, I am focused on Ice and Fire Con 2017. Tickets are on sale now. Go check out iceandfirecon.com. It's April 28th through the 30th of next year in Pembroke, Virginia at Mountain Lake Lodge, which is where most of Dirty Dancing was filmed. And then also, if you're a Steven Universe fan, Beach City Con is going to have its first convention next year, Steven Universe, themed convention, and we are in the midst of our Kickstarter right now. So go to beachcitycon.com for more information. We met our Kickstarter goal in less than an hour. We doubled it in less than 36 hours, and right now we've got a stretch goal that's pretty big, because it means bringing some voice actors to the convention. So that's me and my convention nonsense. Bekah?
I'm not doing any more conventions this year. Maybe I've been talking about MacFest, but that's probably not going to happen. I know I'm doing Conuga, and I'm doing Ice and Fire Con, and then I'll be doing MegaCon, and then I will be with Tara at Beach City Con, Beach City Con in October of next year.
And also Dragon Con is before.
Oh yeah, Dragon Con. I forgot about Dragon Con. I don't know why.
Because that's exactly what we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty light on cons. I'm just going to be Ice and Fire Con, MegaCon, and then Dragon Con 2017 for me.
And Ice and Fire Con, right?
FireCon, I said that.
Oh, okay.
Ice and Fire Con.
You may have
for sure.
I missed it.
That's my first one.
I know. Okay.
First and foremost.
So, Judson, what about you?
Let's see, there's Anime Week in Atlanta later this month. I'll probably just go there for a day to kind of futz around. And, of course, there's Ice and Fire Con. I've missed the past 2 years, so I'm really looking forward. I'm definitely going to make it this year. Lord Baelish has to make his triumphant return.
Exactly.
Yeah. And also, I think next month is it's Conjuration here in Atlanta, which is like a Harry Potter-based con, and I'm actually not a really big Harry Potter fan, but the reason I'm going is because I'm this. I know I'm like a rarity, but there's a burlesque troupe that I'm a member of, and they're going to be doing a show there because they've already done this Harry Potter themed show called Sexpelliarmus. So they're going to do a few of the acts from that as part of the show, and It's a lot of fun. You can look them up online. It's called Hysteria Machines. They got some really good stuff, and they do. For those of you who are in Atlanta, they do shows like about once a month at Joystick, last Tuesday every month. So, come check them out if you can.
Joystick.
Oh yeah, it's a blast. Like it's all like nerd themed stuff too. So like last time they did Heroes and Villains, and they've got like a Doctor Who one coming up. So.
You said it's Hysteria Machines?
Yeah, Hysteria Machines.
Okay.
When once the webcast is done, I'll be writing like a short recap article of it with a with the webcast embedded in it. So I'll include these links in there. So I'll get that from you so people know what you're talking about too.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Thanks.
Elena, what about you?
I honestly don't have a bunch of cons lined up already, so I know next month I'm actually going to be at Grand Rapids Comic Con in Michigan. My group, Overlord Media Group, we're going to be guests there again this year. We're having 3 panels over all 3 days. A bunch of other really great guests are going to be there, including the actor for Grandmaster Pycelle from Game of Thrones. We're all pretty excited about that.
I have friends in Grand Rapids. I'm going to have to let them know about this.
Definitely. I might be going to Ohio Con. It's a pretty decent sized con here in Ohio every year. Probably just to go and hang out with friends because I don't know, it might be just too much for me this year. Ice and Fire Con, of course. Dragon Con, of course. Might make an appearance at Beach City Con just to go and help out with you guys. But that's really it. Like, I don't have anything. I have no plans the rest of the year.
To be fair, the end of the year is very slow with conventions. There was somebody who was asking about it on the Dragon Con subreddit, and I was like racking my brain trying to think of some, but it's Anime Week in Atlanta, which is September 29th through the 2nd.
That's pretty
There's Spooky Empire, which is here in Orlando. That's October 7th through the 9th. I'm sorry if my dogs are barking again. MegaCon Tampa is in Tampa, Florida, October 28th through the 30th. Walker Stalker Atlanta is in Atlanta that same weekend, and that's like all I know between now and the end of the year. So.
I know in November there's a Doctor Who convention on Long Island, and we were guests there last year. We were going to go this year, but none of us could afford to get out there because it's a haul from the Midwest to get to New York City. But that's a pretty decent con. They usually always have really good guests. A lot of doctors make an appearance, same with their companions. I would have loved to go again this year, but I ended up going to Dragon Con, but that's really the only other one I know of.
Okay, my dogs are barking. I think one of my dogs got left outside. So I'm gonna wrap this up. But yeah, so there's not much going on between now and the end of the year, but we've got a lot of stuff coming up beginning of next year. So you guys just, I'll contact you for some links and stuff for what's going on the next couple months. And other than that, I am Tara, along with fellow Geekiary writer Bekah, and our guests Andrew, Judson, and Elena. Thank you again for joining us for Feelings with the Geekiary, and please remember that we are a free webcast run off of donations from viewers like you. Thanks for contributing and helping our host site, the Geekiary, and I will see you in a couple of weeks on our monthly Feelings webcast. Thank you guys again for joining us. Bye.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Hey, bye.